Good morning. Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Lisa, welcome. Thanks for coming, Lisa. Well, good morning. I'm Ben Stone, Director of the Economic Development Board. I'd like to welcome you here on this beautiful morning. It's supposed to be 70 degrees today. Now, if we just had a little water, life would be perfect, right, Grant? This is being videotaped, be replayed on the county website, and you can hear it tonight, replayed on KRCB Radio at 6:30 p.m. Before we go any further, I'd like to thank the companies that have helped support economic development in Sonoma County. Please join, the placards are on your tables with those who are supporting efforts like this. So please join me in a round of applause for our sponsors. The Board of Supervisors has asked that we use locally sourced food wherever possible. We started this last year. It was kind of a struggle. We were able to get a couple entries. But as you see, almost everything today comes from local sources, including the butter and milk from Clover. So let's give a round of applause for our local sources. I'd also like to extend a welcome to the many city, state, and federal elected officials and their aides that are with us today. As your name is called, please stand or wave, and so we can recognize you for being here in your service. And for the audience, if you could hold your applause till we get through the list. At the federal level, we'll start with Congressman Jared Huffman's representative, Matt Olhausen, and from Congressman Mike Thompson, Stephen Gale. For State Senator Mike McGuire, we have Carlene Rebich, and for Assemblyman Bill Dodd, Logan Pitts. We have the entire Board of Supervisors with us this morning: Susan Gorin, David Rabbit, Shirley Zane, James Gore, and Efren Carrillo. From the City of Cloverdale, we have Mayor Bob Cox, and from the City of Cotati, Wendy Skillman and Mark Landman. From the City of Hillsburg, Mayor Sean McCaffrey, and from Petaluma, Mayor Glass, David Glass. City of Rohnert Park, we have Gino Belforte, Jake McKenzie, and Pam Stafford. And I think we have the entire delegation from the City of Santa Rosa: John Sawyer, Chris Corsi, Aaron Karlstrom, Julie Combs, Ernesto Olivares, Tom Schwidhelm, and Gary Wysocki. And the mayor of Rohnert Park. Sorry about that. Okay, Ani. And then from Sebastopol, Una Glass. And from Sonoma, Mayor David Cook. And from the town of Windsor, Bruce Okrepke, Councilmember Deborah Fudge, and Mark Milan. The County Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Steve Harrington. From the County Board of Education, Juna Kuklis and Lisa Whitkey-Schaffner. And Katie Barr from the Rincon Valley Unified School District. And finally, I think he might be here. He's not a morning person, but we're scheduled to have President Ruben Armillana from Sonoma State University. Is he? Good for you, Ruben. Wow, thank you. Let's give a round of applause to all our attendees. On each of your tables is a brand new copy of our economic and community indicators. These are used for business attraction, talent attraction, and many more uses. We have free copies available for downloading from our website at sonomaadb.org. There's much going on around the county, and you'll be hearing from Supervisor Susan Gorin about what's going on at the county level. We thought you'd also like to hear something about what's going on at the various cities and educational institutions around the county as well. So we polled them and asked them to provide each city and educational institution a quick summary of a major achievement they've accomplished over the last year. So they've given the information you'll be seeing today. We'll go through this list. And I invite you to join me in a quick tour around Sonoma County as we look at things going on, starting with the City of Cloverdale. And Cloverdale formed a public-private partnership to recognize the challenge they have with their drought. They formed that partnership with the Russian River Brewing Company, who paid the impact fees in advance so that new source water wells could be developed at an accelerated pace. New water wells now provide approximately 1 million gallons of additional water to Cloverdale per day. Cloverdale is conserving water as well as developing new water for the future. The City of Cotati completed construction of a train station, developing new transportation hub for Cotati, Southern Rohnert Park, and Sonoma State University. The station area was built in partnership with Sonoma County Transit, who developed the adjacent park and ride and bus facilities to serve this future smart station. With completion of rail facilities and initiation of service, the station area will be a full multimodal facility providing bus, car, bicycle, and pedestrian service for the region. The City of Healdsburg completed a total revitalization of its downtown streetscape. That's a new word to me. It's streetscape in 2014. This streetscape has improved the connectivity of the businesses north of the plaza on Center Street and created a real sense of place for residents and visitors. Streets and sidewalks were torn out, outdated underground infrastructure updated, and formation of a pedestrian-friendly business center. Thanks to the widening of sidewalks and pocket parks on the street corners, the community is better able to enjoy the downtown area. Petaluma continues to enjoy the success of its economic development marketing campaign launched in October 2013. Since the launch, the Petaluma Star website has received 38,000 hits and national recognition from the International Economic Development Council. The website features 17 business profiles, an infographic poster, an interactive schools map, information about industry clusters, and many other positive news stories. Petaluma's new business editions of Rustic Bakery and Revive Kombucha will soon join Petaluma's business community, bringing 90 new jobs to Petaluma. Rohnert Park has established itself as a cultural hub of Sonoma County. Along the home of plentiful family entertainment and recreation, the city also features the Green Music Center, the Grayton Casino, and award-winning Spreckles Center. 2014 marked the launch of the Summer Music Series at Sonoma Mountain Village, featuring top performers such as the Goo Goo Dolls. 2015, this is what I was given by the city of Rohnert Park. It's also noted that 2015 will see a bevy of new restaurants coming to Rohnert Park. Santa Rosa launched Out There SR, a culture and business marketing brand to encourage travelers, business attraction, workforce development through a collection of simple and authentic stories from local ambassadors. People can share their Santa Rosa story through photographs and sounds captured in the city's mobile photo and recording booth, affectionately called the Welcome Wagon. This visitor and business recruitment tool has proved integral in demonstrating lifestyle benefits to a software firm, Power to Practice, employing 15 high-wage jobs and growing. To share your Santa Rosa story, visit OutThereSR.com. The City of Sebastopol partnered with local nonprofits and over 100 volunteers to create the first 2 phases of Our Front Yard, Sebastopol's Living History Garden. The design tells the story of Sebastopol through 4 major eras in the city's history. The garden also demonstrates sustainable, productive, water-wise use of the landscape around Sebastopol's 2 most visited buildings, City Hall and the Public Library. This project is slated to be finished in 2015. Sonoma thrives on a tourism-based economy and in 2014 renewed the Tourism Improvement District for 10 years. The TID funded the Holidays in Sonoma promotion to increase focus on downtown business. Funding this lighting extravaganza in the historic plaza assisted marketing efforts of small business owners. The tourism industry also took a major leadership role in this is good news for Grant, in enhancing their lodging properties with water conservation upgrades to mitigate the impact of visitors on water use. In Windsor, the long-anticipated Bell Village project got underway in the downtown adjacent to the Windsor Town Green. Approximately 83,000 square feet of new commercial space is under construction in the first phase of this project adjacent to Highway 101. The centerpiece is Oliver's Market. I think Tom Scott is with us today. Tom, there you are. Oliver's Market, shown in this rendering with its wide variety of local food choices, Oliver's has generated much excitement. This will be the company's flagship store in its largest facility. Occupancy is expected within the year. And then looking at education, we'll start out with Sonoma County Office of Ed. Last July, the Sonoma County Office of Ed, known as SCO, was awarded a $15 million grant to serve as the lead agency for a six-county alliance. The grant is designed to meet the needs of industry sectors. It's just a terrific grant of our region by improving and expanding high school pathways, developing work-based learning situations, and creating clear advancement routes for students moving from high school through post-secondary education and on to viable careers in the North Bay. And out there we've got some makers, some maker geeks from I think Annalee High School. They're teachers here. One thing I was given, this is a 3D flashlight made entirely with 3D materials, and it even works. So if you want to see what the makers, this is this kind of new phenomenon. It's really been based in Sonoma County with Dale Doherty. Just stop at the SCO out there. They also, SCO's did this for Pliny the Younger. It's a $4,000 project they got to, look at Stephen Jackson, he's all smiles, at getting that going. So it's great to see young people learning skills that they can put to use in their working lives. Empire College of Law graduated its first 17 of Master Legal Studies majors in 2014. Majority of them also received a dual JD degree, and those who sat for the July 2014 California bar exam achieved an impressive 60% pass rate. Santa Rosa Junior College says that the most outstanding achievement for the year was securing major support for our students. Most visible was the Measure H bond. SRJC's Career and Technical Education Department grants over $2 million from federal and state sources included $1.5 million in partnership with SCO. Those funds will help build K-14 pathways for 9 industry sectors. A $400,000 enhancement grant will fund needed equipment for food, farm, and manufacturing training. SRJC's largest national grant was $2.5 million to support extended education for Hispanic and low-income students. And we come to Sonoma State University. Student research, scholarship, and creative activity add currency to a student's education. Sonoma State University is actively moving towards all students having a scholarly or creative activity before they graduate. Through generous donations from local community members, they were able to fund 29 student-faculty research projects this year, stimulating new types of curiosity and interest in subjects. The projects range from predicting and fostering resilience in children of incarcerated parents to sensor network development at SSU's Fairfield Osborne Preserve, and many more. It's also been a busy year indeed at the Economic Development Board. Thanks to the support of the Board of Supervisors, we now have a comprehensive program to help people start, fund, grow, and expand their business right here in Sonoma County. We provided one-on-one direct service to more than 500 businesses, helping them with more than 15 different types of assistance actions. We started a local microloan effort, providing 6 companies with microloans totaling over $80,000 and creating 13 new jobs. Well, the numbers and statistics are important, but I think it's also good for you to know some of the people behind those numbers are real live people and businesses. Let's take a look at a couple of examples of how these services have helped businesses start and grow here. I'll start with a brand new business. We help connect with critical startup financing. Bertha Barajas had a job, but flower arrangement was her true passion, and she dreamed of having her own floral store. Banks were not able to fund her, but after she was referred to us by Supervisor Carrillo, we were able to use our Microloan Connect program to help her launch her new business. Bertha opened Bevis Flower on November 1st of last year and is off to a successful start. Another example involves Empire West Incorporated, a Sonoma County manufacturer and employer of more than 30 people here, whose president is Ed Davis. Empire West will be staying in Sonoma County as a result of an effort between the Economic Development Board and PG&E. This began when our staff learned that Empire West was being aggressively recruited from jurisdictions in Nevada, jurisdictions in Oregon, and even Roseville, California. We identified Empire West as a qualifying candidate for a brand new PG&E Economic Development Incentive Program, and they were one of the first businesses in California to receive the special rate and to stay in Sonoma County. So Mr. Davis is with us to hear, along with Rosa, so would you please stand up, Mr. Davis? Let's thank him. Looking towards the future, our Board of Supervisors recognizes that prosperity is never guaranteed, and we must always instruct the Economic Development Board to pursue new programs that help bolster existing industries to make the county less vulnerable during economic downturns. Therefore, they've provided the funding to launch our new Creative Sonoma program this year, and we expect to hire a program director in the near future. This will be an exciting way to enhance our creative economy. Part of it's going on with these young people out there, which is growing importance to our jobs and to our income here. Additionally, the Small Business Development Center, a terrific resource for us, will be co-locating with the Economic Development Board next month, which will enable us to more effectively partner with their services and provide even more resources to companies looking to grow and expand here. Several new programs are being planned for this year as well. First, we'll partner with a broad variety of groups to propose to the board the formation of an agriculture business council this spring, followed by a similar group for the evolving outdoor recreation industry. Next, given that 15% of Sonoma County businesses are now Hispanic-owned, and that we all have a stake in having a prosperous Latino business community, the Board of Supervisors has provided funding to launch a new bilingual business development program this spring to reach out to those businesses and provide them with the information and assistance to help them grow. And we'll be doing this program in partnership with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Finally, we know the future is coming to us rapidly, and the need to be prepared for ever-increasing change is only growing. To address this, our Next Economy project, which is comprised of 40 next-generation leaders, is preparing a report and action plan which will be presented to the Board of Supervisors this spring for their review and action. We have a few events coming up. Anybody here go to the craft beer conference last year? Put your hand up. Well, we are going to repeat that this year. Well, this will be the largest gathering of the craft beverage industry in Sonoma County that's ever happened. And then we'll be having Restaurant Week in mid-March, March 9th to the 15th. And we do this in partnership with the Sonoma County Tourism, the visitor centers, chambers, cities, and many more. So we've got a lot to look forward to, and since we're looking to the future, it's appropriate we bring up Jerry Nicholsberg to give his outlook. Jerry comes to us from the UCLA Anderson School from Los Angeles, and many people feel that the Anderson School is the most reliable institution in the state for the forecast they offer about the fluctuations in the California economy. Now, it turns out Jerry's a great mushroom hunter, so he's been in paradise the last few days. His idea of fun, going after mushrooms, so good for Jerry. And let's give him a very warm welcome as he comes up. Jerry?
And by the way, those were Sonoma mushrooms. And excellent mushrooms. They're all gone now. I ate them all. Well, I shared them, but I ate them all. So I'm going to talk about the, about the U.S. and California economy. And Ben said that prosperity is never guaranteed. And I'm going to show you some slides that really sort of indicate that with regard to the U.S. and California. But I've titled this talk, This Old World Still Looks the Same, as a line from the Eagles. If I had known that y'all had been hosting the Goo Goo Dolls, I would have used a line from one of their songs, but you're going to have to live with the Eagles, I guess. And the reason for the title is that we're in a recovery, and this recovery has kind of moved apace. It's in the 6th year, and kind of each year has looked a lot like the last one, getting better slowly but surely, but the same is quite good depending on where you're at. And so what you see in this slide is total employment, and this is a percentage of the pre-recession peak. It's a measure of how well each state has recovered. The first one over on the left is Texas. We'll see what happens with falling oil prices, how that changes, if at all. Then Minnesota, Colorado, California, Massachusetts, and you could add a few others that are above that horizontal line, which is 100% recovered. But if you just take those states out of the U.S., the rest of the U.S. has not recovered after 6 years of a recovery. This is a very, very uneven recovery, and the benefits have been spread basically to states and to communities like yours, which have focused on technology, that have focused on the new information economy, because that's where you get growth, and then also energy. And if you look across these states and ask, well, what do they have in common? It's not low taxes. It's not lax regulation. It's not right-to-work laws. It is either they're driven by technology or by energy. In the case of Texas, it's both. But that's what they have in common. And so that's really the formula for the future. And as I spoke about last time, it's a formula that Sonoma County has really been able to embody. Turning to the U.S., on the left you see actual GDP growth rates. And as you can see, the pattern looks pretty much the same, but it's been building, and we're now moving to an economy that's above 3%. It's above average growth rate economy. And one of the key reasons for that is consumers are now spending again. Households are spending again. In the wake of the Great Recession, there was a real fear that savings wasn't adequate. You weren't going to get your savings out of appreciation in your home or your 401k, and our savings rates were actually down around 0. So in the first 5 years of this recovery, households have been trying to push up their savings rates and have now pushed them up into the 5 to 6% range, pushing down debt. And that seems to be a fairly comfortable level. We've got more consumer confidence, more consumption going on. That's supporting an above 3% and above average growth rate, because consumption is 70% of GDP. Housing is another strong point, but what you tended to see in the past were these big housing sort of euphoria and housing boom and bust cycles. This one's had a slow build, and we're sitting right around 1 million units per year. It used to be that about 1.5 was what you needed for population growth and for replacement, but demographics have now pushed that down to about 1.4, 1.38, somewhere in there. We're not there yet, and we're sort of moving slowly in that direction. So that's really healthy that we're adding new residential construction at sort of a very measured pace. Another component of GDP is equipment and software. Firms have to compete on the world stage today. How do you do that? It's through increased productivity. You get that by automation, by robotics, by investment in equipment and software, not just in the U.S., but abroad. That is an important part of the U.S. economy now. That's sort of that tech part that's really driving it, and an important part of the California economy. And we see that continuing to grow at 8%, then slowing a little bit to 6%, but that's not an indication of a problem, sort of returning to sort of a more average level. And that gives us job growth in the U.S. of about 230,000 per month. And that's good job growth. And as you can see from this graph, we're going to achieve record high levels of employment in the U.S. So a real recovery, at least numerically, a real recovery in the U.S., and we're getting lots of jobs, and we expect that to drive the unemployment rate down in the U.S. to 5%. So full employment, sometime in the next 2 years, we have it out in 2017, but I'm sorry, 2016, but full employment is certainly on the way, and we're making good progress. But now that I've told you a lot of good news, let's move to unemployment, which is a little different in the U.S. this time. What you see on this graph is the rate of unemployment, so it's unemployed to population, of those who have been unemployed 5 weeks or less. And as you can see, we're back to normal. That's a full recovery. Those who have been unemployed 5 weeks or less are looking at a very normal economy, a very normal, prospering economy. Similarly, if you look at 5 to 14 weeks, it's a full recovery. So unemployment doing just fine, and the pattern, you know, they mimic one another. They're highly correlated. That's 14 to 26 weeks, and so our labor markets are looking pretty good until you get to this one, which is over 27 weeks. So that's the long-term unemployed. And again, you look at this historical pattern, and everything is correlated, nicely correlated, until you get to 2008. That's the long-term unemployed, and it shoots up, it's a totally different pattern. And it still has not come back to normal. Now, you might say, oh, yes, but it's falling fast, so not to worry. The reason why it's falling fast is not because the long-term unemployed are getting jobs. It's because they're dropping out of the labor market. And the statistics, such as the last jobs report that came out, and it said, you know, unemployment rates come down and all of this good news, and then they had one line there. And the long-term unemployed, no change. And you can see that. Another way that you can see that is in this graph. So the blue line there is the ratio of labor force growth, so those are those in the job market, either employed or looking for a job, to population growth. And so you'd think that would be about 1 to 1, right? As the population grows, so does the labor force at about the same rate. It jumps up to 1.5 to 1 in the 70s and 80s, and that's women entering the labor force. And then you get to the Great Recession. Those red shaded areas are recessions. You get to the Great Recession, and what you see is that this thing drops, and it drops down to 0, and it doesn't, it's actually up at about 0.5, but it doesn't really recover. And again, that's because, so that's partially because of baby boomers retiring, partially because of a change in tastes and preferences. So 2-earner families who become 1-earner families, and one of them is long-term unemployed, have said, you know what, I kind of like this, we can do without the other things, and are not coming back into the labor force. But part of it, and about 1/3 of it, are these long-term unemployed who would be in the labor market, but for the fact that they're late career, their skills don't match what's growing today, and they're frustrated. After 5 years of looking for a job, they said, we've got to find something else to do with our lives because this isn't happening. So we still have a serious problem in terms of our labor force in the U.S., even though we're moving towards full employment. And it happens to be sort of the older segment of our labor force, those who've been coming out of traditional manufacturing. And I'm going to show you something on construction shortly in California. So upsides to the forecast, we have oil prices have plummeted. And so that's good news and bad news for the U.S. economy. The good news is that households have about 170 to 200 billion more dollars to spend on other things, and they're spending it. The bad news is that we are now producing a lot of our own oil, and so those who are involved in oil production are finding life is becoming a little tougher. And if you net that out, you get at right around $80 a barrel, a 70-some billion dollar injection into the U.S. economy. At today's prices, it's over $100 billion. So this is a stimulus package that didn't require congressional approval and that doesn't end up reducing taxes. So it's a great stimulus package, and this is an upside to the forecast. If, in fact, oil prices don't go back up into the 70 to 80 range, you're going to see faster growth than that sort of 3.1, 3.2 that I showed you earlier. Secondly, the Federal Reserve is moving to more normal financial markets. We expect interest rates to start moving in June. And so the Federal Reserve will be not intervening as much, and we'll get kind of more normal lending. Banks are starting to lend more, and so we're moving kind of out of that crisis mode. And the slow growth that we've had means that we have not developed those imbalances either in housing or in automobiles or in other sectors that typically lead to recession. So the longest recession that we've had, longest expansion that we've had in the U.S. is 11 years, and we may hit that because we're just sort of moving apace and not really building up the pressures that would normally move you into a recession. Now, I'm not making a forecast that we're going to hit that. Our forecast is that for the next couple of years, things are looking pretty good, that we don't see anything in the data that would lead us to be concerned about a recession. There's always geopolitical risk. There always is risk, that things will go awry, but at least there's nothing in the data that suggests that we have any sort of impending downturn. So turning to California, and I thought I'd start this off with a picture from last week. I have some friends who live up in Sebastopol, and so this is their vineyard, the Rusty Gate Vineyard, to get us started. And California, non-farm payroll, 1.3% above peak. So numerically, we have recovered all the jobs lost in the Great Recession. If you look at the trend, though, the trend from 1990 on up to 2007, we're below that trend. And that means that we have the ability to continue to grow and to increase employment in California. And this is the forecast that I just put up there, the dotted line, and we are growing towards that. That gap is narrowing, but it's narrowing slowly. Just as the U.S. economy is growing slowly, so is California, although we're growing faster than the U.S. By sector, that growth is fairly widespread. And it's spread between things like leisure and hospitality, professional and business services, healthcare, and so we've got fairly solid growth here in California. Over on the right-hand side, you see education, which is negative. That's kind of an anomaly. That's a consequence of the pullback of the federal government in providing student loans for a number of for-profit colleges and universities. And so that's a temporary thing. Education has been a big growth sector. The other two are federal government, which is still contracting. That's not transfer payments. That's purchases of goods and services. That's things like computers and cars and bombs and things like that. And the other one is non-durable goods manufacturing. Non-durable goods manufacturing, so those are consumables, has been contracting. Employment in that sector has been contracting all over the U.S. and in California as well. And Sonoma County is really an anomaly. You have had good, solid growth in non-durable goods manufacturing. And of course, the reason is sort of obvious. It's wine, it's beer, it's specialty food products, and those have really been growing here, whereas that sector has been contracting elsewhere. But just as with the U.S., this is a bifurcated economy. Some places are left behind. The red areas are inland counties. The blue are coastal counties. Green is Sonoma. And you see that the red is over on the right, growing much slower than, that's not growth, that's recovery, sorry. Having not recovered, being below the 100%, and it's really the coastal counties in California that have grown, that have now recovered, that have unemployment rates that are below the U.S., with two exceptions. One is Kern County, and that's petroleum, the big energy boom in Kern County, and the other is Merced. So you might say, well, why Merced? Why would Merced have fully recovered? That seems a little strange. If you look behind the numbers, and it's really illustrative of what's going on in California, Merced County lost a lot of jobs in manufacturing and retail and construction in the recession. They haven't gotten those back. But Merced happens to be home of UC Merced. And the state of California is expanding the UC system. Where do you expand? In the newest, smallest UC. And it happens that the number of people hired by UC Merced is equal to the number who lost their jobs in those other three sectors. But I don't think they're the same people. So this is, again, illustrative of the kind of labor market problems that we have in spite of the fact that we have a really good recovery going on. And in terms of rates of growth, so this is the last 12 months, November 2013 to November 2014, and you'll see in the brochures that Sonoma, which is again in green, has a lower growth rate, but in the last few months that's really picked up. And so again, if you move left to right, the U.S. is in red there. If you move left to right, you've got Silicon Valley, San Francisco, San Diego, Sonoma, and the East Bay, and you go all the way over to the right, it's Los Angeles, it's the Inland Empire, it's the San Joaquin Valley. And so that difference that you saw in terms of recovery, well, the inland areas are not catching up to the coast. That difference is getting larger and larger. And so, again, a very uneven recovery. In terms of housing, this is the median home prices for houses in California. If you used any other index, the Case-Shiller, the FHFA Home Price Index, you get exactly the same result. We saw in 2013 and early into 2014 real rapid home appreciation here in California, and I know that you've seen that here in Sonoma, but that's really kind of tapered off. And if you look at this graph, what you see is on the right-hand side, it's kind of flattened, that home price appreciation. And that brought us back to prices that were the same as the prices we saw in 2004. That means these are nominal prices. These are just actual dollars, not adjusted for inflation. That means that an investment in housing in 2004 paid 0 return, and after adjusting for inflation is negative. So those are hardly bubble prices. And given that the home price appreciation has now slowed, it's really kind of a return to a normal housing market that we have going on here in California. And key to that is what's happening in foreclosures. The red line on this graph is foreclosures in California, and they have fallen to be down now about 6% of all home sales. In the early part of the millennial decade, they were 8% of home sales. So we have this huge foreclosure mess pretty much behind us. The foreclosures are about normal. If you add into that short sales, we're up at about 11%. Back in sort of more normal times, we were selling a lot more houses than today. So this part of the market is pretty normal, and that home price appreciation is starting to bring more homes onto the market being listed for sale, because it's been a very small inventory. People have been nervous about kind of what am I going to get for my house. We're getting more houses onto the market, a more normal housing market, and that's going to stimulate more home construction. But when it comes to home construction, we've got something different happening here in California than before. This graph is the percentage of homes, percentage of new home permits, so these are building permits, that are single-family homes, single-family detached homes. And with the exception of that one little episode in the 80s, which was tax-induced. So this is during the S&L boom, and there were tax credits for building apartments, which were expiring. Except for that time, we have been predominantly building single-family homes in California. Except now, since the recession, the demand has been for multifamily housing. Jobs are being created along the coast, jobs are being created in the denser parts of the state, and people want to live closer to work. And that's a demand for multifamily housing. So there many good things about that. One of the good things is that we're getting household formation and we're getting new home construction. But if you look at this, a multifamily home, building a multifamily home is different from building a single-family home. And if you just take the permits and translate that into construction, so this is using data from the American Home Builders Association, and this is the induced direct labor in building houses in California. So it's taking the permits times the number of jobs that supports. It's not supervisors, it's not management, but it's direct jobs. And you can see the building boom and then the crash and kind of our slow increase. But this red line that I put up there, what I'm doing is a thought experiment. We've got this shift from single-family to multifamily homes. And a multifamily home takes a lot fewer people to build than a single-family home. It's about a third. So if you if we were to have in California the same mix going back of 50-50, multifamily to single family, how many workers would have been employed in building houses in California? That's the red line. And it is a difference that's equal to about somewhere between 10 and 15% of the total construction labor force. So as we go forward, we think that that mix of 50-50 is going to continue, which means that once we fully recover in building homes in California, there's still going to be 15% of the former construction jobs that aren't coming back. So again, as with manufacturing, in construction, we're getting a lot of jobs back, and you see that here in Sonoma County, but we're not going to get the same number of jobs back that we lost. Again, a shift in the economy towards the tech economy, towards the new information economy, and away from some of the older ways that we used to generate jobs. We do a Bay Area model, so this is an aggregate for the whole Bay Area. And so I want to show you that. The first is Bay Area payroll employment. And it is not at record highs because the record was in 2000, but close. And our forecast is that the things that are driving the Bay Area economy are going to continue to drive it at pretty decent rate of growth. It will still lead California in growth and still lead the U.S. in growth. And that's going to generate jobs that are going to be at record highs, fully recovered from 2000 and then some. So very good news in the Bay Area. In terms of unemployment, and you saw earlier, and Ben talked about, unemployment is below the U.S. unemployment rate, and our forecast is for the U.S. unemployment rate in 2016 to get down to 5%. In the Bay Area to be down in the 4s and in the lower 4s. So more than full employment, that's going to attract more people into the Bay Area. And again, what does that mean? That means more housing, more construction, and more vibrant growth. And the risks to this are the same risks that we've talked about with respect to the U.S. economy and to the California economy. They're really external risks. They're things that we kind of can't control. We've seen over this recovery that it kind of doesn't matter if Congress functions or not. The economy continues to recover apace, and so that's not a real worry. We made it through the worries about the fiscal cliff and just kept growing. And so the risks are real external risks, but right now they don't seem too great, even though external to the U.S., there are a lot of problems in the world. But let me just digress on that for a moment. When we think about the rest of the world, it's kind of a mess. And the U.S. is really the only bright spot. The U.S. and our NAFTA partners, Mexico and Canada. Everywhere else, toying with recession, maybe in recession. China's slowing growth to the point where it is, a de facto recession, and the U.S. is not. So we are much more insulated from the rest of the world than we imagined. Now, we could have much faster growth, but we're certainly the bright spot here. So those external risks, at least at the moment, in spite of the fact that we've got a more dangerous and more turbulent world, don't seem to be great as we go forward in 2015 and 2016. Which brings me to the California forecast. And the California forecast is so normally that doesn't come out the same numbers each time, 2.2, 2.2, 2.2. That wasn't just because I got lazy and kept hitting the repeat. That's the way the model numbers came out when you adjusted for all of the factors that are going on. But that 2.2% growth in employment is faster than the U.S. We'll still be one of the leaders of the U.S. economy, and that drives our unemployment rate down to 5.6% average for for the year 2016, it is right down around 5% at the end of 2016. And so we've got good growth in jobs. We have unemployment rate coming down, personal income going up, and new building permits going up. So good news for California and good news as it reflects here in Sonoma County. And we got a couple of pictures at the bottom. The one on the left is of oracle bones from the Shang Dynasty. So 3,000 years ago in China, they used these for forecasting. I'm not going to tell you if I used oracle bones here, but I'm not sure forecasting has really advanced too much since that time. But the right one is sort of is a happy picture again of Rusty Gate, and that's their peach orchard. So as we now move to Sonoma County and looking in more depth, I want to leave you with this graph. So this is employment in Sonoma County. This is total employment. It includes the self-employed, which is a big component of the local economy, fully recovered from the Great Recession and then some. So things are looking up here, and from our Bay Area forecast, you can expect this line. So there you could probably use a ruler, and that line is going to continue to increase as we move forward over the next 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. That's, I think, the most optimistic forecast you've ever given us. So I think there's a lot of good news coming up. So now I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker here, Supervisor Susan Gorin. First District Supervisor Gorin is a Massachusetts native who came to Sonoma County with her family when her husband was transferred with Hewlett-Packard from Colorado to Santa Rosa in 1982. Susan attended Santa Rosa Junior College and graduated from Sonoma State University and became involved with public service, beginning with serving as president of the League of Women Voters. In 1996, Susan was elected to the Santa Rosa School Board and subsequently served on the Santa Rosa Board of Public Utilities, Santa Rosa Planning Commission, and then served 6 years on the Santa Rosa City Council with 2 years as mayor before being elected to the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors in 2012, representing the 1st District, the beautiful 1st District. As supervisor, she serves on a variety of committees such as Health Action and Upstream Investments, on LAFCO, the Sonoma Clean Power Authority, and many others, and recently with the Bay Conservation Development Commission, North Bay Water Reuse Authority, and many more. Please join me in welcoming the Chairman of the Board of Supervisors, Susan Gorin. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here, and thank you for taking this morning to be here with us. I love the news that Jerry gave us, and it echoes what we're experiencing in the county as well. And I want to give you a little glimpse of what we see going forward from the county's perspective. Each year, we gather here together at the State of the County to ring in the new year, to celebrate our successes, and provide a vision for where we're going. This year, our theme for the county is Foundations for Our Future. As chair of the board this year, I am grateful to work with 4 deeply committed colleagues, dedicated, who are helping to shape our future. And I just want to thank our outgoing chair, David Rabbit. You know, we were so shy we didn't stand up. Stand up, David, who served. Who served as our chair for 2 years, leading us through some tough and rocky times. And of course, our new vice chair, Supervisor Efren Carrillo. Supervisor Shirley Zane. And welcome to our newly elected 4th District Supervisor, James Gore. The five of us know that good policy and responsible governance are important, and we come together for the good of the county. We put our collective energies toward making this county a great place for all of you, all of us, to live, work, and play. In 2014, we rocked with the challenges of an ongoing drought, and we rolled with an earthquake that shook our homes and reminded us both of our fragility and our strengths. We experienced an economic surge that was welcome, but tinged with the recent memory of 20% cuts. We vowed to prepare for the future through prudent spending and investments in our community that will pay dividends for decades to come. As a board, we tackled winery expansions, roads, clean energy, youth programs, and homelessness, among so many others. We even saw one of our own ascend to the state senate, leaving a hot damn vacuum in the chambers. And there is one McGuireism that we'll keep for sure, and that is good times. And these are good times. In fact, they are great times, and I predict that the best is yet to come. Today, Sonoma County has one of the strongest economies in the state. Thank you, Jerry. We're finding that as well. We're tackling legacy challenges and making major investments that will provide the foundation for our next generations. Needs are high and opportunities exist. The county made strategic investment decisions that increase our ability to provide services targeted at the board's priorities and not just business as usual. We've tackled pension obligations. The Board of Supervisors approved a first-of-its-kind additional $3.5 million payment to the retirement system, reducing our outstanding pension liability and avoiding an additional $3 million in expenses. We added $11.3 million to our reserves, an increase of over 34%. And for the third year in a row, yes, we're recognizing that, median home prices rose 12%. And gratefully, our foreclosure rate has slowed to a trickle. Sonoma County now has the 5th lowest unemployment rate out of 58 counties in the state, and our job creation rate outpaces the state and the nation. Our cost of doing business is 2% of the national average, which gives us great competitive advantage when we are attracting businesses and growing businesses here in Sonoma County. We know that tourism is an incredibly vibrant part of our economy. We've not only recovered from the recession years, but we also set new records. In 2014, tourism accounted for 10% of our total employment and generated approximately $100 million in tax revenue. This is great news, and we know that there are even more good news to come. Our economy is strong and growing, and we did this together. We rode out the storm of an unprecedented economic crisis as a community. All of us made today a reality. From the farm worker picking grapes at 3 a.m. for the harvest, to the small business person who chose to invest here, to the county worker who agreed to concessions, and to our many community volunteers. We've arrived at this moment together, and in 2015, we will continue to bring balance and collaboration into our daily lives. We have the courage, we have the talent, and we have the willingness to form collaborative relationships that will ensure a legacy that is economically viable, environmentally sustainable, culturally diverse, and welcoming. For examples of collaboration, we look to the Sonoma County wine growers, who are embracing the challenge of balancing agriculture with environmental stewardship through their 100% sustainability program. We look to the successful collaboration of Sonoma County Tourism and all of the partners who work together to help create the perfect destination for our visitors. And we look to our partnerships with the public, private, and nonprofit sectors to educate, train, retrain, and invest for the jobs of tomorrow. A thread of sustainability weaves through everything that the county does. Sonoma County is also known for our innovative work on climate change, energy efficiency, renewable energy, green business development, water management, resource conservation, and so many others. Our efforts are being recognized locally and nationally. It's gratifying that in December, President Obama recognized Sonoma County as a nationwide leader in the effort to combat climate change, one of 16 individuals. All of us know that we have persevered through a record 3-year drought, and with 7-degree temperatures predicted for today, it looks like this year may be a 4th. But we have worked with all of you at Sonoma County tirelessly on drought response measures, including distributing over 5,000 drought toolkits to residents. We've aggressively implemented conservation strategies, efficient management of surface water reservoirs, collaborative reuse of treated wastewater, and groundwater management plans that complement the newly adopted guidelines at the state level. And this year, we are committed to continuing these efforts to create a resilient water supply for years to come. In 2014, we realized a long-standing dream of generating renewable energy. Sonoma Clean Power launched after years of working together to enable our residents to invest in clean energy markets. By the end of last year, Sonoma Clean Power accomplished a major milestone by flipping the switch to provide electricity to 160,000 customers, and every eligible city in our county elected to join. Because of this unparalleled energy collaboration, we opened this year with lower rates and cleaner energy. But a healthy community must have places to play, roam, and regenerate ourselves, our families, our employees. In the last year, we acquired 590 new acres of agricultural, natural resource, and scenic viewshed lands that will be protected forever. A priority of the board is to increase public access to some of those lands, and last year we opened nearly 1,500 acres to public access. And this year we look forward to opening up even more land for all of us to enjoy. At the intersection of environmental protection and compassionate care is the Sonoma Developmental Center. Sonoma Developmental Center has provided care for our most vulnerable population for over 130 years. It's the largest employer in the Sonoma Valley, as well as being one of the most pristine and environmentally significant properties in the county. The message that I've delivered to the state is one shared by many. These critical services and the invaluable natural resources on this site must be preserved. And this year, I will continue to work closely with our state and federal legislative partners to ensure that our voices are heard on this and other legislative priorities. It's not enough to invest in clean power and conserve our lands. We have to invest in the infrastructure in ways that support our families, businesses, agricultural partners, tourism, and workers for generations to come. All roads lead to home at the end of the day, and in Sonoma County, it's past time to address the issue of affordable housing, a top priority for the Board of Supervisors in the coming year. In 2014, the county provided $24 million in rental assistance to families, veterans, disabled, and our seniors. These funds not only help families remain in a stable home, they also provide a direct economic injection of millions of dollars into our community. And you know what? Oops, my team is going to be really unhappy with me, but I have to go back to talk about roads. At the top of the board's priority list, we addressed the roads crisis through historic levels of investment and the adoption of a long-term roads plan. In 2015, we'll continue to prioritize our roads, looking for new ways to fund needed repairs, including state and federal advocacy, and the possibility of new funds in Measure A put before the voters in June of 2015. Now, we'll talk about affordable housing and those roads that lead to those housing. Just a little glitch. Whoops. Last year, the county provided $24 million in rental assistance to families, veterans, disabled, and our seniors. These funds not only helped our families remain in stable homes, they also provided a direct economic injection of millions of dollars into our community. We are grateful for those of us who own homes that home prices are recovering, but for many of the constituents that I hear from, they're very worried about their ability to remain in Sonoma County when the rental inventory is far too low to meet the current and future demands. In the past year, rents have increased over 30%, some as high as 50%. This year, we're committed to tackling this issue as a board and as a community, along with our city partners. Housing is an economic imperative as much as an issue of compassion. Without affordable housing, there's no workforce to pour our wine, teach our children, farm our fields, staff our tech divisions, and repair our roads. And this is not even accounting for the loss of talents and culture that only a diverse population can provide. And I'm thrilled to note that in the Boise Hot Springs area, Mid-Penn Housing is about to break ground this year on a 100-unit affordable housing project. And there is more to come around the county. But we must focus on the more. When we talk about housing, we also have to address homelessness. In 2014, Sonoma County took important steps to address homelessness and in ways that are both compassionate and proactive. We formed the Homeless Outreach Services Team, HOST, pilot project, and initiated a safe parking program. Both efforts the result of innovative partnerships of the county departments, agencies, and community-based nonprofits. And in this year, we'll continue the issue of homelessness while addressing mental health and substance abuse behaviors in the county. Any attempt to mitigate homelessness without addressing some of the underlying factors will be an exercise in futility. Using innovation and collaboration here in Sonoma County, we are investing in our future in ways that will mitigate systemic inequities in the health, income, and education. Or in simpler terms, we are raising the playing field, not leveling, but raising the playing field. Without evidence, we move in the dark. And in 2014, this changed when we commissioned a portrait of Sonoma County. For the first time, we have a data map of 99 census tracts that lights the pathway to direct our resources toward the greatest promise of future rewards. The portrait, in short, is a game changer for all of us. The evidence graphically showed that we are a bifurcated county of have and have-nots, often residing within minutes of each other, but living worlds apart in terms of education, health, and income. Addressing poverty and income inequality highlighted in the portrait continues to be a focus of the board's priorities. This includes legislative advocacy for a state-earned income tax credit, the minimum wage increase, and targeted investments in areas identified by the portrait. And we're also considering a county living wage ordinance. Education is the #1 predictor of health in later years. We know this, and the development of an educated workforce also ensures our economic viability for decades to come. Along with our partners, many of you are here in the room, are our partners, we're addressing educational inequities beginning with a focus on universal preschool to ensure that every child is prepared to enter the school and graduate. We are at the table with business leaders and educators to prepare students for the future through career technical education. We're investing in education equity programs such as 10,000 Degrees, which offers support to our students to help them enter and graduate from college. Other important considerations take place in our neighborhoods with grants to fund safe routes to schools, community planning, leadership empowerment, and healthy food education, all using the portrait of Sonoma to identify our disadvantaged neighborhoods. One example is the Moreland Healthy Neighborhood Planning Initiative, which was formed with neighborhood residents and community partners. And we continue and will continue to work with the City of Santa Rosa on annexation in the areas in Southwest Santa Rosa. In 2014, the board adopted a framework aimed at creating a culture of community engagement. We saw concerted effort at all levels of county government to engage more frequently and more authentically with our community. This year, the board will be presented with the recommendations of the Community and Local Law Enforcement Task Force, and we look forward to working collaboratively with the community, task force members, our Sheriff's Office, District Attorney, and other criminal justice partners on efforts designed to make our community safer. I want to challenge all of us to engage our future generations and tap into their talents. And I have a treat for you. We've prepared a video to introduce you to the next generation.
Out of the tree of life, I just picked me a plum.
I'm gonna be a builder. I'm gonna be a fast orangutan. I wanna be an architect. I wanna be a doctor, an accountant, contractor. I wanna be a farmer.
The best is yet to come.
I'm a Sonoma County entrepreneur. It's the best is yet to come.
Best is yet to come, and babe, won't that be fine?
Sonoma County is opening a bunch of new parks.
I like parks because you could play hide and go seek with your sisters.
I like parks because you get to see animals.
A mí me gustan los parques porque puedes estar con tu familia.
I like parks because there's bathrooms.
The new runway means more flights in and out of Sonoma County. Each new route adds $20 to $25 million to the economy and 70 additional jobs.
I'm gonna teach you to fly. We've only tasted the wine.
The best is yet to come.
You think you've seen the sun, but you ain't seen it shine.
The Creative Sonoma program helps artists. It's like kind of helping other people with art and music. It's kind of like a combine with those two, and it just makes a rainbow.
That sunshine day, you ain't.
The Creative Sonoma is great for the economy.
The best is yet to come.
Art all just comes from your imagination up here. It's just art.
best is yet to come, come the day.
Your vote is your voice. I'm 8 years old. In 10 years, I will be able to vote. Don't let other people choose for you. Do your own choice.
You think you've flown before, but baby, you ain't left
the best is yet to come.
Wait till you're locked in my embrace. Wait till I...
The official dishwasher of Sonoma County. Lick those dishes, dog. There's a drought on. Turn the water off. The best is yet to come.
The best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fun?
The best is yet to come.
The best is yet to come.
The best is yet to come.
Lo mejor está por venir.
You're mine. Come the day you're mine, and you're gonna be mine.
I think you can agree that these adorable kids are our future, and we have a lot of work to do because we need to prepare those adorable kids for a world we may not even recognize. We need to ensure our children are ready for jobs that do not yet exist, and for societal pressures we haven't yet imagined, for opportunities that will transform us if we are prepared. Think about it. What did you worry about in 1995? My guess, it wasn't how to take a great selfie or what your teenager was doing on Instagram. You may not imagine needing a social media manager or carrying a computer in your pocket. The first round of digital natives were not even born yet and have never known a world without instant access to information. Think of the next generations as waves coming in. We have a choice. We can either ride those waves or run from them. I think we need to harness their power. They are a generation marked by Columbine, the corruption of Enron, the horror of 9/11, the cost of war, the destruction of Hurricane Katrina, and the tenacious grip of the Great Recession and the burden of college debt. And yet, it's remarkable that they share an optimistic outlook. Nearly 50% report that they believe the country is on the road to the best years. Maybe this optimism stems from growing up in a period of unprecedented civic equality, the pervasive influence of social media, environmentalism as the new normal, and the proliferation of a sharing economy. For this generation, innovation is the rule. Eric Liu, former speechwriter to President Clinton and founder of Citizens University, said, "Heroes are what happens when a moment calls forth people well prepared by institutions." So let's pull forth our community heroes by preparing them through education and empowerment. We have both an opportunity and an obligation to engage this group and harness their talents, innovative spirits, and their commitment to service. They're here, and there are waves of them coming behind, queuing up to inherit this land. So what's the payoff? We'll fulfill our promise that the best is yet to come. We'll lay the foundations for our future, for a new generation of Sonoma County residents to live, work, and play in a community that's not only prepared for the future, but also took the risk to shape it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Gorin. Thank you all for being here this morning. The best is yet to come. Make that true this year. Thank you.